Hello, good evening. I'm Roger Johnson. Welcome to North West Tonight. Thanks for your company on this Wednesday evening. Our top story. Demi was a victim of botched plastic surgery in Turkey. A coroner demands action to prevent further deaths. One witness told her inquest the incompetence of the Turkish clinic verged on manslaughter. Also tonight, more strikes over what's been called a crisis in community mental health, with patients facing long waits for treatment.
They are abandoned and they are neglected, and people get quite unwell quite quickly.
Our latest Christmas star is a smashing experience for all concerned. We'll show you what happened next. The new blockbuster exhibition celebrating the 70-year career of Britain's iconic artist, David Hockney.
He's an example to all of us in his 80s, learning new technology, always experimenting. And that's why this show is so great for all ages.
And it's been another very quiet day weather-wise, hasn't it? Mostly dry, fairly cloudy and chilly. Join me at the end of the programme to find out what the rest of the week and the weekend has in store.
Now this is Demi Agolia, a mum of 3 from Salford who felt self-conscious about the way she looked. She thought that she had found the answer on social media and booked herself a medical procedure in Turkey. It's called a Brazilian butt lift and it's been growing in popularity. But just 3 days later, Demi was dead, the 5th British victim of what is now considered to be the world's most dangerous cosmetic procedure. Today, a coroner called on the government to take action. As Phil McCann reports.
This is the glamour that Comfort Zone Health Tourism in Istanbul want their potential customers to see on social media. From their base in Turkey, they offer, among other things, Brazilian butt lifts, or BBL surgery, where fat is taken from one part of the body and injected into the hips or buttocks. On their socials, there are people who've had it done. Demi Agolia from Little Holton in Salford saw some of those adverts endorsed by a celebrity and booked a butt lift through Comfort Zone. The day after the surgery, Demi spoke to her mum. She said, "I've got the bum I always wanted." The next day, her mum got a text from her partner who was with her in Turkey. It said, "She's gone."
Demi was a beautiful, outgoing, very confident girl, and she didn't need the surgery at all. She went for the sake of her feeling like she wasn't good enough in herself.
Demi's friend read out a statement from her sister Chloe.
I wouldn't recommend anybody going to Turkey for any possible surgeries or to research more about them if they are thinking of going for surgery.
At Demi's inquest today, the coroner said it was most likely Demi had died from a microscopic fat embolism, where the injected fat gets into the bloodstream and blocks vessels.
I think it's disgusting, and I think that more girls of our age and women should be aware that you shouldn't be going to Turkey for surgery, because we've just lost our friend, sister, mother through something people who have neglected.
The coroner said he'd seen no evidence of informed consent from Demi before the procedure was carried out. There is no proper pre-op care or advice, he said, and no proper post-operative care or advice. Something further needs to be done, he said, to stop this frankly barbaric medical practice being carried out to such low standards.
There is a real lack of awareness, I think, from patients travelling from England to Turkey about these differences in standards, about the differences in procedures, and often they are not understanding that the fact that they are cut-price procedures often means you're getting a cut-price service.
Neither Comfort Zone nor Avrassia Hospital have replied to requests for a comment. The UK Health Secretary has said he wants to work with international partners to improve safety for Brits abroad. Phil McCann, BBC North West Tonight, Bolton Coroner's Court.
Now, it's been claimed tonight that hundreds of mental health patients in Greater Manchester have been abandoned because there aren't the resources to care for them. Some staff at the area's mental health trust are staging the latest in a series of strikes this week over what they say is a lack of funding and support for people with severe illness who are supported in the community. They say that the situation is putting people at risk, as our health correspondent Jill Dummigan explains.
Craig spent nearly 3 decades living with a number of complex mental health issues. They're normally controlled by medication, but coming out of lockdown, he felt himself becoming unwell and contacted his GP.
They tried to initiate a psychiatrist appointment because it's only a psychiatrist who can alter the meds I'm on. That took 9 months.
Craig says it took another 9 months for a second appointment, with a disastrous impact on his own mental health and the business he'd spent years building.
It was a real struggle, and I was getting worse. I remember getting through to Christmas, and in January I just didn't go back to work.
Unhappiness with community mental health services in Greater Manchester has led to some of the Trust's own staff to repeatedly strike for better services. They're out again this week.
We don't have enough funding, there isn't enough staff, there's massive waiting lists. I think for my service, people wait for a long time to access therapy, and that shouldn't be the case.
We aren't able to provide the kind of care that we are meant to be able to provide.
The patients these strikers want to help have serious mental health issues: schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, psychosis. They should be getting treatment, but well over 600 of them are stuck on a waiting list because the service is so under-resourced.
There's thousands of people not getting the service that they need and deserve. People who are on the waiting list trying to get into services. It's people who are being discharged early back into inappropriate situations, and it's actually the thousands of people also who are in services at the moment and not getting a decent service.
One of the people in that service is Rachel. She says she's had 5 caseworkers in 2 years.
The community mental health nurse I've got now is extremely good, but she cannot do every patient justice because of her caseload. People are very worried, they're anxious, they're feeling alone, they're feeling let down. They're angry.
Mental health gets funding from NHS Greater Manchester. Its own report last year stated that there was a £97.8 million shortfall for those services. It added that the lack of community provision meant that people were ending up in hospital, sometimes many miles away.
People feel abandoned and neglected, and they are. To be honest, they are abandoned and they are neglected, and people get quite unwell quite quickly.
Annabelle Marsh runs a support group. She says things have got much worse over the past 10 years.
People have ended up in hospital. We've had others who've been in for over a year, including private hospitals. So the cost to the NHS of not providing community services is massive.
NHS Greater Manchester says they're fully aware that some individuals are struggling to access timely and appropriate support, and it's an area that requires urgent attention. They say the impact of rising demand for services has contributed to difficulties, and they're committed to working with their partners in health and social care to develop solutions. Craig's now getting the right treatment, but he says he won't be able to get his business back.
It pains me to wonder what could have been different. Could I still be working in a business, having a job? It was scary. I'm lucky to be here, I really am.
Jill Dummigan, BBC North West Tonight, Manchester.
Now, a body found in the Solway Firth estuary in Scotland has been formally identified as missing Isle of Man resident Shona Campbell. The 74-year-old who lived in Douglas had been on holiday near Annan. She called police on Monday after getting into difficulty in the mud while out walking on the shore. Her body was found late yesterday. Shona's death has been treated as unexplained, but is not believed to be suspicious. Tributes have been paid to the man who died in Sunday's fire in Kirby Lonsdale. People in the town say that 45-year-old Ben Taylor was a cherished member of the community. They've set up an online fundraiser for those whose homes were destroyed by the blaze. The Prime Minister today praised the way that the community has united in the wake of the tragedy. The company, which is being investigated by police over alleged physical abuse at a special needs school in Cumbria, says it takes children's safety very seriously. The Wings School near Milnthorpe, which was run by the Kedleston Group, closed down earlier this year after action was taken by Ofsted. Cumbria Police's major incident team is appealing to anyone with information to come forward. An innocent man who was pepper sprayed on a night out in Liverpool has received an apology and £22,000 compensation from Merseyside Police. This video, obtained exclusively by the BBC, shows Owen Andrew being sprayed as he lies motionless on the ground. He was trying to film a friend being arrested. The special constable who sprayed him later appeared in court and was cleared of assault. The force decided that there were no grounds to take disciplinary action against him.
It actually really affected me. So I've got asthma. And I couldn't breathe. My eyes went completely swollen. I basically felt like I was kind of dying. I do accept the apology, but obviously I personally don't think they've really done enough, because I did absolutely nothing wrong.
And the death of an 8-year-old boy in a fire caused by an e-bike battery has prompted a Merseyside coroner to call for greater awareness of the risks. Luke Albiston O'Donnell died in hospital after a lithium battery caught fire at his home in Birkenhead. The coroner, Anita Bajwaj, has issued a Prevention of Future Deaths report, highlighting the dangers of storing e-bikes and their batteries indoors. Now, stay on Merseyside for our next item, because last summer, during the riots which followed the stabbings in Southport, a mob set fire to the Spellow Lane Community Library in Liverpool. But as so often happens, some good has come out of the wreckage. And tomorrow, after a huge community effort and help from across the country, the rebuilt library is to reopen. And the celebrations are beginning early. They're getting underway right now. Tonight, our Merseyside reporter, Andy Gill, is there for us. And by the looks of it, Andy, it's quite noisy.
Yes, this is an amazing lantern parade. 150 children who've all made lanterns, some professional ones as well. There are people here who are involved in the response to the riots, emergency services people, church people, people from the local mosque as well. This is a noisy, joyful celebration, a response to what was, back in the summer, a very dark day for this part of North Liverpool.
Tell me something about this bit of paper. Is it dripping with paste?
No.
Are my hands dripping with paste?
No.
No, and that's the way it should be.
Artist Faith Bebbington leads the lantern making for a class of Year 3s at Gladys Street Primary School in Everton, a creative response to an act of destruction.
We're making lanterns for Spellow Lane because it burnt down.
For these children, the library was a vital resource.
If you don't read and you don't learn, then when you grow up and you go to like a work or something, if they ask you to read something, you won't know what to do. I needed to read because I'm not good at reading, so I need to get to reading.
The head teacher says the loss of the library was a big blow.
For massive impact on our school. Our children use the library regularly. It's their first introduction into a library. They go there from when they're small to listen to stories, and then they're enrolled in the library, and they use it as a facility regularly all the time. It's absolutely devastating what happened.
Spellow Lane Library was set alight and badly damaged in the riots that flared in the wake of the Southport attack. But this is not just a library. It's a community asset where people come for advice and education. Staff have been preparing for the reopening. People around the world donated £250,000 to restore it. Queen Camilla donated books.
I used to go to the library to get books to read.
Why is it important that you go and read at the library?
Because it helps you with your spelling.
The school set up a temporary library in the old caretaker's house, but it's not big enough for a whole class.
When I read books, I will know new things and I will be clever than everyone.
Which is why tomorrow's reopening makes happy reading for these children.
Well, you can see the parade is still going on. They're going past Everton's Goodison Park at the moment, making their way to Spellow Library, where they'll all gather. Other libraries around the country have been joining in the celebrations by lighting up their own libraries and posting pictures on social media, including the very prestigious British Library in London. This parade is heading off now. We'll have more on the official reopening of Spellow Library, which is taking place tomorrow. That'll be on tomorrow's BBC North West Tonight. Back to you, Roger.
Andy, thanks ever so much. Looks really good, doesn't it? Very atmospheric as well at this time of the evening. We're going to stay in Liverpool, not a million miles from Spellow Lane, actually, down at Albert Dock, because in January, 2 of the museums there in Liverpool will close for redevelopment. The International Slavery Museum and the Maritime Museum will be transformed. It's going to be a 3-year project. It's going to cost £58 million to do it. And Stuart Pollitt can tell us all a little more about it.
We're going to now go over to the section of the museum that has some of the material culture relating to the events of 81.
A tour group transfixed by Liverpool's International Slavery Museum. They'll be one of the last in here for a few years. Next month it closes and will reopen looking like this.
It's a massive, absolutely massive, not just for the museum but also for the community, and not just for the local community but for the global community, because through this new museum we won't just have the local and the national voices, but we intend to have the global voices, so the voices of the Africans, voices of Caribbean, voices of Black Americans.
The Slavery Museum opened in 2007 inside the Maritime Museum, which was created in the 1980s. Now it will get its own front door.
The current entrance to the museum is down the side here, but it's going to change to this impressive new opening. It's part of a wider waterfront transformation project, and it will also see better links between the Slavery Museum and the Maritime Museum, which share the existing building.
Some of the new galleries in the Maritime Museum will show the links between maritime Liverpool and slavery. The two museums are in the same building for a reason, because those two stories are linked, and that will come out in some of the stories that we're telling here as well. We don't want to close if we can help it, but the scale of the work means that the best way of doing this, the only way to do this is through closing.
A £10 million government grant towards the work is currently under review, but museum bosses said whatever happens, they remain committed to the project. These images show how the buildings will look once completed. The plans will see a glass bridge linking the two, a new internal space opening up new possibilities.
How big an opportunity, how exciting is this for you as the curator, Miles?
I think it's a massive opportunity, I think for quite a few reasons. I think this is an opportunity for me to be involved in how we might enhance this story, bring it to audiences in new ways. I mean, there's the physical change in having our own entrance does actually make quite a big difference to the curation of a museum, because for the first time we can really think about a visitor journey from start to finish. And what I hope is that when visitors leave in the future, they really have a sense of the different ways that transatlantic slavery has shaped the world that they live in right now.
Both museums are still open, but only until January the 5th. Stuart Pollitt, BBC North West Tonight, Liverpool.
You may recognise some of this artwork. David Hockney is regarded as one of Britain's most influential and accessible artists. Now, his 70-year career is being showcased in a new immersive exhibition at Manchester's Aviva Studios. And as Davinia Ramos explained, she's been for a look round today, it is more than just paintings on a gallery wall.
This is David Hockney's life on a massive scale. A 360-degree insight into his world, spanning 6 decades.
Because of the clarity of that light in Los Angeles, you notice the different textures.
I think these kinds of exciting immersive experiences break down the barriers that sometimes people feel in more traditional galleries. They can just step right in and make their own adventure of it. And for this piece in particular, the artist himself, David Hockney, has designed the experience, so you're really getting to step inside his art and inside his world.
First, I lived in Santa Monica, so on, if you know that.
David himself gives a running commentary, and on display is a mix of some of his most known work and some new creations too.
There's a reason why this exhibition is called Bigger and Closer. Just look at how vast this space is. The art is literally coming at you from all angles, all sides. It really is designed to give you a fully immersive experience. It really is quite something.
From the hills of LA to Yorkshire, the work follows Hockney around the world.
We're driving up and down in a little open car.
He's known for experimenting with bright colours, and now in his late 80s, he's embracing new technology.
He's an example to all of us in his 80s, learning new technology, always experimenting. And that's why this show is so great for all ages. We have people in their 80s coming, and we have people who are less than 8 months coming along as well.
So I like looking.
This is the first time the exhibition is being shown outside of London, and it's impossible to have a bad view.
It was cool to see art in a different kind of form, rather than kind of walking through. You were constantly looking around, which was really beautiful.
Work on such a big scale was just amazing.
Yeah, it was really impactful.
Yeah, it makes you want to go home and get a paintbrush out.
I didn't know much about David Hockney, but I love the way it was in 4 sides and the floor, 5 sides. Brilliant projections, great music, really well done.
Visitors have until the end of January to see David Hockney in a whole new light. Davinia Ramos, BBC North West Tonight in Manchester.
It really is an immersive experience, isn't it? Now, time for the second of this year's Christmas Stars, recognising some of the people who make a real difference to communities in the North West. Thank you, as always, to everyone who wrote in with suggestions this year. We read them all. I'm sorry we couldn't film them all. But for this one, Ian Haslam's been to Tameside in Greater Manchester to surprise Tosin Lanen, who is the founder of an organisation called Arc of Hope. As you are about to see, it was a smashing experience for all concerned.
In Hattersley today, it's a cook, talk and taste session run by community champion Tosin, who's made the area home.
What made you want to do this, to devote your time to helping people?
When I moved to this community, I feel welcome by the church, St. Barnabas Church, and I feel I'm in the midst of my family, and they took care of me, they welcomed me, and I don't think I want to live somewhere else.
Tosin's originally from Nigeria, where she recently returned to provide food and other much-needed donations as part of Arc of Hope's pledge to help disadvantaged people.
We have loads of children going without food, and some vulnerable families can't afford to buy their daily meal. This really touched my heart. We've been trying to raise funds, all of us, try to raise funds. We plan to support about 50,000 families. So we want the world to reach out there for help for us. This food was made with love.
Why have you nominated her for this?
Oh, she's wonderful. She's the best person I've ever known. She does so much in this community. I can't list one. There's so much to say about what she does. She's going to love this. Once she sees that.
Yeah, don't drop it.
I'm not going to drop it.
It's glass, it will shatter.
I'm taking it home.
No, you can't do that.
She can come and visit me.
She's forever catching the bus here, there, everywhere, taking trays of food over to people, and just drop in, give a load of food and then disappear. She's just absolutely amazing for the community.
And so they wanted to say a big thank you.
We're here to film you doing your community work today, and it's marvellous to see. But also we're here for something else, because Babs, your friend over here, has nominated you for something.
Look what I've got for you, girl.
This is the BBC North West Tonight Christmas Star.
Well deserved. Well deserved.
You've been nominated by Babs, but on behalf of the whole community.
No, don't cry. We love you, Tosin. She's crying because she's happy.
I hope so.
You deserve it.
How does that feel, this recognition from people? I know you don't do it for recognition.
She deserves it. She does.
Thank you.
Oh.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
One happy Christmas Star nominee. Suddenly it was a clean-up operation.
She's dropped it now. So, but you know, it's the thought that counts, isn't it?
The other day she was saying, oh, my knees are killing. Like, well, you don't have to do everything for everybody. You've got us to help as well. Are you sure? Like, yes, Tosin, we're sure.
Well, she did so much for people during the COVID pandemic, and she feeds all the hungry people in Nigeria, the children, and she does a wonderful work out there.
Then to the taste part of the morning session, traditional fritters from West Africa.
So yes from me.
Say yes. Thank you.
Hot.
It's off.
Ah.
But very good. Another triumph for Tosin. Ian Haslam, BBC North West Tonight.
Seen here with her star, just to reassure you that luckily we do have a spare star, so Tosin will get a replacement. Ian did warn them that they break easily. So let's have a look at that shattering moment again. Here we go. Great scenes of joy, but some careless use of the arm results in heartbreak in the kitchen. Look at that in slow motion. Easy to see how accidents happen. There will be a happy ending though. A new start en route to Tosin already. Follow that, Abby.
I mean, you would feel awful if you were the person that knocked
yeah.
that out of her hands, but that is quite hilarious,
That
isn't
happens.
it? It does. Right, let's talk about anticyclonic gloom, what a gear change. That's what we're seeing at the moment. We've got high pressure, keeping our weather very settled, very similar. We've seen a lot of cloud, but that has led to some rather dramatic weather watcher photos that have been sent in over the last 24 hours. Christmas scenes as well. This Robin captured here from Crawshaw, Plonker in Crawshaw booth. Thank you, as always, for sending those weather photos in. If you would like to keep them coming, you can do just that. All the details on the screen behind me as to how you can send those weather photos in. You can send them in on social media, or you can become one of our BBC weather watchers. So anticyclonic gloom equals a very similar day tomorrow. A lot of cloud. It traps moisture between the Earth's surface and the atmosphere, and that does lead to some very damp, drizzly, dreary conditions. So a lot of cloud around, but very settled, very similar conditions over the next few days, thanks to that big area of high pressure. Very light winds, meaning very little change. But as we head towards the weekend, we will start to see temperatures rising a little and a bit more sunshine on Saturday afternoon. Overnight tonight, we will see a lot of cloud. It will be mostly dry. Our temperatures won't drop much lower than about 1 or 2 degrees, perhaps to freezing point in 1 or 2 rural spots further north where we do see some clearer skies. But a lot of cloud around again tomorrow. We will see some breaks in the cloud, something a little bit brighter from time to time, particularly across parts of Cumbria. But generally speaking, variable or large areas of cloud with our temperatures reaching about 7 or 8 degrees Celsius. And we are seeing a bit more blues on the air mass over the next few days. It will feel quite chilly at times with our winds feeding in from the north or northeast, but all change at the weekend. It will feel much milder on Sunday, a very mild night overnight into Monday, and then Monday and Tuesday we'll see those temperatures in the double figures, so slightly milder into the start of next week. Friday, again, very similar, high pressure keeping things mostly dry, just the potential of seeing a little bit of drizzle where that cloud is thick enough later on, but our temperatures reaching about 7 or 8 degrees. Rog?
I think I could live with anticyclonic gloom, because at least it's not raining.
This is it. You know what you're going to get.
Yeah, it's reasonably dry.
Just not a lot of sunshine.
No.
Need a bit more vitamin D.
We don't get a lot of that, do we, at this time of year? Brilliant. Abby, thank you very much. Steve Saul's got the late news for you at 10:30. But from all the 6:30 team, have a great evening. Thanks for watching.
Good night.